welcome to the Knitting Expat Podcast. This is episode 111. Today is Friday the 13th of October, and thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Mina. You can find me online as Mina Phillip on Ravelry, Knitting Expat on Instagram, and you can find the group for this podcast, Knitting Expat Podcast, in the groups tab on Ravelry. And what else? You can find the show notes for this and all previous episodes at knittingexpat.wordpress.com. And I think that's the gist of it. Like, basically there's links to everything below this video on YouTube and in the episode thread and in the show notes, so you can find me online from all those places. And also, I also design knitting patterns, which is the predominant amount of my knitting these days, and you can also find those in my Ravelry shop, which is Knitting Expat Designs, also linked below the video on YouTube. So like I said, today is Friday the 13th of October, unlucky for some, but I don't know if I said my name. My name is Mina, and I'm the host of the Knitting Expat Podcast. Not sure if I mentioned that. Anyway, Perry, my husband, actually has the day off today, so he's taken Layla, our 7-month-old baby, to her Gymboree class this morning, so I have a bit of free time to record without any potential baby interruptions, which will be nice. And it's been a while since that's happened. But so I just wanted to say a massive thank you to everyone who is joining me today. Thank you if you are a returning viewer. Thank you again if you are a new viewer. I really appreciate you taking the time to check me out, see if you like it, and I hope you enjoy what you see. And so before we get started, I'll talk about what I'm wearing, because I always forget to do this if I am wearing knitwear, so I thought I'd just do it right at the beginning so I don't forget later. I am wearing the Blue Sands cardigan. I can't remember who designed it, but I knit this last year. It was my birthday cast on last year for my birthday, not my birthday just gone, and I knit this while I was pregnant. It was a really good cardigan for while I was pregnant because it's an open front cardigan, so it didn't matter when I had the belly, and it just meant I could knit it in my regular size and it would still fit whilst I was pregnant and after, because like the size of your shoulders and like your upper, like this part of your body doesn't, well, for me anyway, doesn't really change that much didn't change that much when I was pregnant. I mean, my arms got a bit bigger, but overall everything above here didn't really change, so I could knit my regular size sorry, I keep hitting the table. So I got a good fit in the shoulders, which was important to me. And I really like the shape of it. I'll stand up really quickly to show you. And I like the length. I really have an issue with short cardigans that don't really cover my back properly. This is nice and long, comes under my bum, and it's got little pockets. The pockets are a little bit lower than what I'm used to, so they're not as practical as I would have liked, but it's not a big deal. I always kind of forget they're there, to be honest. But I really like it, and the yarn I used for this one was some Icelandic yarn that I picked up on a trip to Iceland. It's their cam yarn in 5 different colours and a grey. The pattern is written for like 3 colours, I think, and it has some sort of texture pattern on the sleeves, which I omitted. And I just did the texture in the bottom here that was called for. So that's that. It's my Blue Sands cardigan, and I'm wearing it because it is finally cold enough to wear it. Yesterday morning I popped out with Layla to run some errands, and it was cold. It was cold and it was slightly raining. So when I got back, I turned all the ACs off, all the air conditioning off, and opened all the windows, and it's been so nice and chilly in the apartment ever since. So I've actually been able to wear some knitting inside as well as outside. So that's what's been going on with what I'm wearing, and I really like this cardigan. It's a little bit on the scratchy side. It's not scratchy enough to bother me or stop me from wanting to wear it, but if you are really sensitive to itch, then I wouldn't say this was a next to skin sort of cardigan, like yarn for you. But I really like it. The only reason I haven't worn it that much, other than it being too hot up till now, but last winter after Layla was born, I didn't wear it all too much because it is a little bit more of a rustic yarn, and with a new baby and sensitive skin and stuff like that, I didn't want to risk causing her to have any issues with her skin, so I didn't wear it as much. But now that she's a bit older, and I want her to be used to slightly more rustic yarns as well as the soft stuff. So anyway, don't know why I said that, it was a bit rambly. we've got Rhinebeck coming up next weekend, which is really exciting. It's a week away now. Our plan is to head up Friday morning and get to Rhinebeck, or get to our hotel around lunchtime is our goal right now. And yeah, so hopefully I'll be there with plenty of time to get to Needles Up and to In the Untangled. Hopefully I'll be able to make it to both. Yeah, so fingers crossed. If you guys are going to either of those events, I'll see you guys there. It will just be me. Perry and Layla won't be coming to the pre-Rhinebeck events, but they will be joining me on Saturday at Rhinebeck itself, so that'll be fun. And yeah, if you do see me or us around at any point over the weekend, feel free to stop us and say hi. We'll also be there on the Sunday. For me, I think the Friday and Saturday are going to be mostly about socializing and seeing friends and meeting people for the first time, and you know, meeting friends that have been online friends for so long, finally getting to meet them in person and just enjoying the atmosphere and stuff like that. And it'll be less about the shopping, although you know, shopping is going to happen one way or another, but it's less about that for me on the first couple of days. And then the Sunday will be the day, hopefully things are a little bit more laid back on the Sunday, and that's what I've heard. And yeah, Sunday will be the day when, you know, if there's anything I still want to get or need to get or whatever, then I will look for that stuff on the Sunday. I am planning on having a sort of like a short list of projects that I want to buy yarn for. I was gifted a copy of Joji Locatelli pattern, the Rhapsody in Cables, which is a really beautiful sort of like sideways knit jumper, cables all over, a little bit of lace, which is beautiful. And I really want to get some yarn for that because I don't have anything in my stash that would work. It is a heavily cabled worsted weight sweater, which I love the look of. I just don't have enough quantity of any yarn, so I'll be on the lookout for that. And I think I just want to make a couple of lists of other probably garments mainly that I want to get yarn for that I don't have in stash. It'll be mostly, I'll probably be looking at two to three sweater quantities in heavier weight yarns, because I have a few sweater quantities in fingering weight, but I don't have any sweater quantities in a heavier weight yarn. So I think that's basically going to be the main thing I'm looking for. Trying to avoid buying too many single skeins. I am going to allow myself to buy some single skeins and some sort of like souvenir skeins and stuff, but mainly my main focus in terms of purchase is going to be a couple of sweater quantities. So having said that, let's move on to other admin-y stuff. We've got a couple of knit-alongs going on at the moment. The Road to Rhinebeck knit-along has, the clues have all been released, so it's no longer a mystery. I've loved seeing everyone's finished objects popping up on Instagram and in the finished objects thread. It's been amazing to see all your colour combinations, and I have mine right here to show you guys. I thought it's finally been enough time that I can show you my version properly. So this is, if you saw the vlog that I posted last week, you'll have seen it already, and I went through some of the differences between my version and the final version in the pattern. I'll quickly go over them again now as well, but I will tell you, I did not heavily block mine, so mine isn't as, I mean, some of the shawls I've seen, people have blocked them quite aggressively and they've gotten them to be really deep, which is amazing, and that's typically what I do. But I wanted this to remain a nice sort of squishy DK weight. It is DK weight, I mean, but I wanted to remain like nice and squishy. It's the way I tend to wear it, would be like this, and get it all nice and like smushed up around the neck, and then either tie a little knot under here to hold it in place, hold the ends in place, or I would pass the ends back round to the back, and you can tie a little knot just to hold it there, or just leave it to hang and have it all tucked up under the this bit under the front. I don't know what I'm talking about, under the main part of the shawl. And the way I like it, I love the shaping in this shawl. The issue I have with a lot of crescent shaped shawls is they don't sit nicely around the neck, but this one I've combined traditional crescent shaping with, you know, a kind of pie shawl type shaping. It's not exactly pie shawl shaping, but a combination of the two, which gives this really lovely like curve to the shawl, so it sits nicely around the neck. Like you see here, it's sat completely flat. I didn't fuss around with it too much to get it like this. You saw me literally just throw it on, and it sits so nicely. A lot of the time I find with crescent shaped shawls, when you put them on and the bottom will curl up, or you know, they don't sit nicely around the sides or something, but this one, the shape of it just sits perfectly like this, which is how I prefer to wear my shawls. You can also wear it in the more traditional shape. If I can get it off. There we go. Like, you know, traditional shape, traditional way of like over the shoulders, and again with the shaping it just sits really nicely over the shoulders as well. And because it's quite, the ends are quite long, you can even sort of cross them around the front and tie around the back, or just under your arms and tie it around the back anywhere, and have sort of just like sleeve caps almost out of it. So it's very versatile shape and size of a shawl as well. So you can also wear it like this. You can have one end over the front. Sorry, it's like a lot of fibres coming up into the air and like tickling my throat. So yeah, I really love it. I love how squishy and soft it is. I will definitely be bringing this to Rhinebeck with me, since it is the Road to Rhinebeck shawl. It would be a bit silly to leave it behind. I'm hoping to get some official pattern photos of the shawl at Rhinebeck. I haven't taken any yet, just because it was, I finished this design in March of this year, so I actually started it in the last few days before Layla was born. Like I said, if you watched the vlog, you'll have heard the story. But yeah, I guess I should show it to you up close. You might not be able to see from there. So it starts out with garter, then there's striping transition, then there's a texture, another striping transition, more texture, another transition, and this is my favorite bit of texture. It's twisted stitches, raised twisted stitches, and it's such a simple and easy technique. I did post a tutorial video on how to do this. I did find with this first texture section that a lot of people were a bit confused with the instructions, and I think whilst the instructions aren't difficult, I think the fact that because it was a mystery and you couldn't see what it was supposed to look like, some people were having difficulty visualizing what it would be, how it would turn out. To sort of, I think if people had seen a picture of it, they'd have been able to figure out exactly what they were supposed to be doing. So I thought for this last section, without a visual, some people might get really confused as to how to do that, which is fine. I understand some people are need to see something and to see how it's worked to understand it. So I filmed a very quick little tutorial on how to do the twisted stitches, which is up on my YouTube on my YouTube channel. So you can check that out if you want to see what those look like. And I just did it on a sample thing, so it doesn't look like it does in the pattern. It's just purely to show you how to work those two stitches. And then it ends with a little garter border and an I-cord bind off. So there were three main changes between this version and the one that's in the pattern. The first change is I have you do the bind off on the wrong side of the work versus on the right side of the work, which is what I did here. It's a very small change, and I'm not sure if you can even see it unless you're looking at your shawl in person. But if you're doing the I-cord bind off in a contrasting colour, if you bind off on the right side of the work, your previous colour sort of is obvious. You can sort of see it through the bind off. It's not very obvious at all. It is a very minor cosmetic difference. Does not affect the functionality of the shawl at all. But I thought, you know, just to give it like the cleanest edge possible, when you bind off on the wrong side, it's a lot cleaner looking, that's all. The other thing is, you might be able to see at the bottom here, I've got my edges slightly ruffly, and that's because I had one final like round of rapid increases at the beginning of this garter section, which I feel like didn't actually add anything to the shawl other than giving you almost another 200 stitches to bind off, which I thought, not necessary. People already hate doing a really long bind off, let alone an I-cord bind off. Why give them like 100 to 200 stitches more to bind off? Like, that seems a bit pointless when it doesn't add anything extra to the shawl. So I omitted that. And the final thing that I changed, which I think I remember why I did it, but I honestly can't remember exactly why I changed it, and that was the transition sections I have are alternating between stockinette and garter, whereas in the final pattern it's all in garter. And I think it was a slight sort of baby brain moment when I made this decision, but I think it was also based on the fact that with the rapid increase rows, you could sort of see where they were when you have it in stockinette and garter. I mean, you could really see here in this second garter ridge, you could see the where the increases were. I mean, it's not obvious, you know, unless you're really looking for it. When you're looking at the shawl as a whole, you can't really tell. But I think it must have just been one of those decisions I made whilst lacking some sleep. I'm really sorry about the constant coughing. There's not really much I can do with that right now, and I'm not sure I'm going to be able to edit them all out, just being honest. Finally, just got a few pattern releases to talk about. First up, I have, this is the Chamber of Secrets hat, which I released last week, and it's a really lovely cabled, they're actually asymmetrical cables. They're 2 different cables in there that run around the hat. It's really, really fun, really simple to knit, and this is knit out of Little Bean Loves Yarn. It's her worsted merino base in a, I don't know if that's the official name of her base, but it's a worsted weight merino, and it is in the Slytherin's Common Room colorway. So it looks fun in a worsted, in a variegated. It also looks great in a tonal, and all sorts. And it's got my signature double brim, which I absolutely love. I've got a bun in my hair right now, but I'll put it on to show you. So, I mean, even with a bun in my hair, this fits quite nicely over my head, and I really like it. I like how this one knit up. So that's now available. And in the theme of Harry Potter patterns, I have 3 more patterns that have been published on Ravelry but are not available for purchase yet, and I'll explain why in a second. So first we have these are the Herbology socks, and this was knit out of O-Loops yarn on the Buckman base, I believe, which is a BFL nylon, and this is the Mr. Rumpel colorway. Then we have the Hogwarts Express cowl. I'm just trying to figure out which end is the top. This is the top, I think. Is that the top? No, this way. It doesn't really matter, but this is the Hogwarts Express cowl, because the lace pattern kind of reminds me of like the plume of smoke that comes out the top of a steam train. And this is out of the, what base was this? It's the merino nylon perfection knot, that's it. It's the perfection knot base, and this is the Stormy Skies or Stormy Cloud colorway. And so these were both fingering weight, and this is the Amaltentia hat. Get that, there we go, that's a better color. And this was actually part of the sock set, so it had a mini with it, but I used the fingering weight held double. And again, this is a very simple sort of cabled hat, if that will focus. And I did a folded brim, but I did a gartered rib this time. And the colorway for this one was Star-Crossed Lovers, and also on the Perfection knot base. So you can see how that fits, even with the bun. And yeah, so I really like how this set turned out. And the reason why this isn't available yet is because these patterns are exclusive to the people who purchased the prefect kits for the O-Loops Harry Potter knit-along. And so these are exclusive until the knit-along ends, and it ends at the end of this year. So these patterns will be available for purchase in January 2018. So I'm sorry for anyone who is looking for them now. That is the way it is, and it is, I listed that information on the pattern pages as well. But the Chamber of Secrets hat is available for purchase now. Finally, final pattern release, and I just released this pattern yesterday, is the Diamond Baby Blocks blanket, which I knit for Layla while I was still pregnant with her. I actually designed this pattern before we even knew whether we were having a boy or a girl, and I really like it because it's a lacy pattern, but it's not overtly feminine. So this would be great as a unisex blanket pattern for either a boy or a girl. Like I said, it's lacy without being girly, which I think is quite rare and not very common. I know I might be wrong, but I don't see very many sort of lacy patterns that could go for boys or girls. Lacy patterns tend to be more feminine. But anyway, so yeah, I knit this for Layla before she was born. The pattern's been ready for months now, and yeah, I don't know why it took me so long to release it, but it's now out and available for purchase on Ravelry. It's the Diamond Block Baby Blanket, and you can obviously, this was knit out of a sport weight, 2 skeins of a sport weight merino by John Armand Textiles, but there's no reason why you couldn't knit it out of any weight of yarn in any sort of needle size that you want to get different styles. I think it would be super squishy and super really fun to do a DK weight version of it. And finally, I think actually I don't think that was the final pattern release. I also released the baby socks pattern. I don't know if that was while I think that was since the last podcast. So I had a pattern for baby socks, which I put together. There were 5 different sizes going from newborn to like 2 years old-ish. I mean, I'm guesstimating the foot sizes. I mean, I'm guesstimating the ages for each of these, but I do have specific foot measurements included in the pattern, so you can sort of figure out which one suits your child best based on their measurements. And there's also even instructions on how to customize and completely basically completely customize the numbers to fit your child's foot specifically. So even if you have a slightly older child or a child that doesn't quite fit in with those numbers that I have included, then you can come up with your own numbers to plug in, you know, to use for the pattern. Okay, so that's quite a bit of chatter right there. One final bit of admin. I'm still waiting to hear back from the winner of the Volca socks kit. So please check the prize winners video, which I posted. It should be the video, 1 or 2 videos before this on my channel. All the other prize winners have been in touch, and all their prizes have now been sent out. The winner of the Volca socks kit, I will give you until the end of October to get in touch with me, and if I haven't heard from you by then I will redraw a winner at the beginning of November for that one. Okay, I'm just going to go quickly grab a glass of water because all this coughing's a bit ridiculous, and I will get back to you. We will finally get started with the knitting content. And ready to jump into finished objects. I switched out my cardigan because it was getting a little bit warm, and I forget how warm that yarn is. It's more of like a jacket for when I go out than in the house, to be honest. And so I just put on my Rhinebeck shawl instead. Seems to be most appropriate for right now. So yeah, let's jump into finished objects. I have quite a few things to show you. First up, the things that I finished last week whilst I was vlogging was 3 pairs of baby socks for my sister-in-law for her baby. So we have 3 pairs of newborn size socks. So this uses the smallest size in the baby socks pattern that I've released. So we have 1 pair out of the garnet heather, 1 pair out of the oyster heather. This is Knit Picks Stroll Tweed fingering weight, which you're probably all very familiar with by now. And this is the Sequoia heather. So this was part of a 6-pack of yarn that I got from Knit Picks. It's their Christmas tweed, stroll tweed pack. You actually get 6 colours, so 2 skeins of 6 colours, 2 skeins of each of 6 colours. So there were 3 green colours, the oyster heather, and 2 red colours, in like Christmas themed colorways. And I created a bunch of patterns for, I knit a bunch of patterns for my nephew. We've been affectionately referring to him as Ben Ben because my sister-in-law and her husband, their surname begins with Ben, and they're having a boy. So I've just like thinking I'm so funny, just been calling him, saying it'd be really funny if they named him Ben, because the beginning of their surname, it begins with Ben as well, and he'd just be called Ben Ben. So we're now just calling him Ben Ben. That's not going to be his name, but obviously we don't know what he's going to be called yet, and until we do, that's what I'm referring to him as. So these are for Ben Ben. And I also finished knitting him the mix and match sweater, which I think I started last week as well. So you might have not even seen this as a work in progress on the podcast itself. So this is one of my designs, the mix and match sweater. This is in the 3 to 6 month size. And this is out of Lost Lakes heather and Sequoia heather for the neckband and the hem. And also I used forest heather for the sleeve cuffs. So yeah, I really like how that turned out. Super cute, really adorable. And yeah, so like I said, 3 to 6 month size. And then this week, what I finished, I really wanted to use up the last little bits of the Knit Picks yarn, as much of the Knit Picks yarn as I could. So I knit up 2 little hats. And so this is based on the mix and match baby child hat pattern, but this is the 2nd size up. So this is the baby / toddler size. This size fits Layla now. So it's gonna be a little bit big for the baby, but he'll be able to wear it next winter or towards the end of winter. This winter, depends how big he ends up being. So yeah, so this was out of using the reds, so the garnet heather, firecracker heather, and the oyster heather. So I used the cream as well. And I started out by doing 3-row stripes, and then towards the top did a 2-row stripe and then a 1-row stripe, and then just used the firecracker heather to finish it at the top. And then the second one that I knit I used all the greens, and because I had so much less of the sequoia heather, the darkest, I did a different sort of striping sequence here. I did 5 row stripes of the Lost Lake and the Forest Heather, and then 1 of the sequoia. Then I did 4 and 1, and then I did 3 and 1, 2 and 1, and then just finishing off with the Lost Lake Heather at the top. So 2 stripy hats that are just a little bit different from each other, which I thought would be fun. You know, she can match with the different garments that I've made. I've also made a little nugget sweater as well out of this yarn. I knit so much stuff out of this yarn, it's ridiculous. And this is how much I have left. I weighed it actually, and I took a picture and I posted it on Instagram. So you may have seen this, but this is all I have left. From 12 50-gram skeins of yarn total, this is what's left. I've knit 9 projects for this little baby out of this yarn. There's 25 grams left out of 600 grams that I started with, so that's like 4% of the yarn left. I think I'm done. I am done with this now. I have knit him 3 pairs of baby socks, 3 hats, 2 jumpers, and a baby blanket. We are done with this yarn now. I am so over it. I was contemplating doing one last thing just so I could have like a nice round 10 projects out of this, but I'm like, no, I'm done. I'm not torturing myself with this anymore. Oh, forgot a little nub in there. But yeah, I've used up every last scrap of the oyster heather, so all I have left are actually from the other 5 colours. So, I'm done with that yarn. What else? Those are the main things that I finished. Then, I also, this is actually something I finished a few weeks ago, I just never got around to showing on the podcast. I did show it on the vlog though, was I made Ben a mobile out of pom-poms, which I kept talking about doing and kept putting off doing, and finally did it. So this is what it looks like. I've got it hanging on a very long string just because I can't remember how tall their ceilings were in their house, and I figured that's a really easy thing to modify and adjust to fit their space. But I'd rather it be too long and then have to shorten the length of the mobile than it being too short, and it's a bit more tricky to lengthen it. So yeah, that's that. So I hope the baby will like it. Layla really loves it, so hopefully the baby will like it too. Move that over there and out of the way. It's been a bit of a challenge keeping it out of the way so the cats don't keep going after it. But my last finished object is another new design that will be coming out soon, hopefully. I am almost ready for testers for this one, so I will be posting on Instagram. If you're curious, that's where I post when I look for testers. If and when I need testers for this dress. So this is the vintage inspired baby dress, and this is the final version that I've knit for Layla. And this is the 6 to 12 month size. It fits her beautifully. I tried it on her before blocking, and so I haven't actually tried it on her since, but it fits her great before blocking. And this is again using a Little Bean Loves yarn on her MCN base, merino cashmere nylon, in a custom red colorway that she dyed for me. I asked for like a really rich sort of Christmassy red, but not too cartoony red, if that makes sense. I wanted a sort of like a nice sort of rich dark red. So she did this. She did this really beautiful muted burgundy color, which I absolutely love. And this was the first version of the dress that I knit up out of Mon's Sheep Shop. I should have actually grabbed the original dress to show you guys, but it's in the cupboard. So I made a few changes based on how this one turned out compared to this one, and I did go over it on the vlog, but then I managed to cover the microphone on the camera when I was doing that, so I couldn't include the footage. So a couple of the changes: the original had a crocheted edging around all of the openings, like the neckband, the sleeves and the hem, which I was originally going to eliminate and have it just be a knit edging. So I came up with a knit edging that I thought I liked the look of, but I'm not entirely happy. I mean, it looks nice on the hem, but I wasn't entirely happy with how it looked around the sleeves, and I didn't even do it around the neckline because I just didn't like how it looked that much. But so for this version, I just went back and I did the crochet edge. So the crochet edge around the neck. I did a slightly different version of the crochet edge around the sleeves. That gives it a little bit of a flare, which I think is really cute. And then did the crochet edge around the hem as well. I'm not a huge crocheter, but if I can figure this out, most people can figure this out. And the crochet edging is optional, you don't have to do it, of course, it's after the fact. But I wanted it to be as close to the original dress as possible. So I really like how that looks. So that was one change. The other change that I did was I eliminated the keyhole at the back with the button. It was superfluous to requirements. This neck opening is, as you can see here, is as wide as the chest width. So there was never going to be an issue with a head fitting through this. So I eliminated that. I also went down a needle size for the neckband, and the way I worked the crochet around the neckband, I did it so that it was slightly pull it in a bit, just because I was having issues with this slipping off Layla's shoulders when she wore it. So this will cinch it in a bit more. This has cinched it in a bit more, so it should, is that the right? Yeah, that's the right. So that should sit nicely on her shoulders. Like I said, I haven't tried it on her yet, so we will see, but I'm pretty sure this will fit nicer. I also, if you can see here, moved the placement of the ribbing around the chest. So I'm not sure if that's obvious or not, but here the ribbing is before the sleeve separation, which is how it is on the original, but I moved it to after the sleeve separation, so this will be going like properly around her waist as like a good bit of like shaping there. And then when I picked up the sleeves, I added the ribbing onto the sleeves as well before binding off and doing the crochet edge. So it gives you a little bit of a sleeve rather than it just being a sleeve cap. It just gives like a little short sleeve on the dress. Other than that, the rest of the skirt is the same as the other version, and the rest is the same. So those were the three main changes. Was I went back and did the crochet edge, I moved the placement of the ribbing, and I got rid of the keyhole feature at the back. I mean, the only way I can tell where this is the front and back of this dress is by the crochet edging. I can see where I started and ended it compared to the front, but otherwise this is a completely reversible dress. There is no front and back, you know, theoretically, to the outfit. It's just, you know, you pick which side you want to be, the front and back. So that's finished, and I'm so happy, and there's actually quite a bit of yarn left over. So depending on how much is left, I might make her a little like headband to go with it or something, so we will see. I'm planning for this to be Layla's Christmas dress. At the rate she's going at the moment, she's going to be running at Christmas time. I'm not happy about that, but that's a whole other, we'll get to that later. But I've got some cute little leggings that I think will go great with this, so she can wear this. This will be her Christmas outfit. So yeah, like I said, I might do a headband to go with it as well, so it'll be all matchy-matchy. So that's it for finished objects. That's everything that I've been working on. Yeah, I was going to do a little overview of all the things that I've knit for Ben, but I might save that and put it in next week's vlog instead, because I think this podcast is going to be plenty long enough without it. And yes, let's move on to works in progress. First up, I'll go over the things that I haven't really worked on this week and get those out of the way. You haven't actually seen these on the podcast. I cast, actually no, this one you have, but everything else I cast on afterwards. So these were just some plain vanilla socks which I had cast on, and they are still just at the cuffs. This is the Satrangi colorway by Crit Yum Handmade on her Rosanna sock base, 75/25. It is super soft, and it's on 2.25mm needles, US ones, on Chagus. And so that's that. That hasn't really been touched since I finished the ribbing. And same goes for this pair of socks. So I should have said this bag, this project bag is by Mrs. Brown's Bags. And this one is a lovely gift from the lovely Shauna from Adelaide Cottage. It's like a Christmassy New York theme, which I absolutely love this bag. And it's got suitably blue yarn in it, which is why I picked out this bag for this project. So as you can see, I've got two cuffs on two needles. These socks are going to be knit concurrently. This is going to be a pair of socks for Perry. It is being knit on artisan yarns in the Blueberry colorway on their sock packer yarn. It is 60% wool, 20% alpaca, 20% nylon, and it is theoretically machine washable on Gentle. And you can even tumble dry it, apparently. So we will test this and we will see if this is truly machine washable. I don't tumble dry any socks, any hand knit socks anyway, so that's not really something I'm concerned about. But I do machine wash all of our socks, except there's one pair of Perry socks that are specifically hand wash only. So I hand wash those, but it'd be interesting if this alpaca yarn can be machine washed, because typically alpaca is not super wash. So we shall see. This is, I'm going to put some sort of pattern on this because it is just a pretty solid blue colour. So I haven't started that one yet either. That'll probably be the next pair of socks that I start working on. But the pair of socks that I am working on and almost finished is another one that I cast on last week. I just cast on the cuffs and I'm partway down the foot now. So this is out of Hedgehog Fibres on their twist sock base. It's a BFL nylon. This was actually a club colorway and this yarn was a gift from a friend, so unfortunately you can't get hold of it anymore, or at least it's not a regular colorway unless you can find it on the D-stash. So yes, it's on their twist sock base, which is BFL nylon, and the colorway is called Creature. So I think that's a Harry Potter reference, but I'm not sure. And that's what that's knitting up like. Popped in garter heel with my mini heel flap adjustment. You can't really see that, but there we go, now you can. And yeah, so this is going to be a pair of gift socks for Christmas. I'm not sure who they're going to go to yet, probably one of my girlfriends. But I'm about 40 rows into the leg, so I've got about another 20-ish rows to go before I start the toe. I was just measuring against some of the cutouts of my friend's feet. So I think about 20 to 25 rows is how much more I need to do before I need to start the toe, depending on who I'm knitting them for. So once I get a bit closer to the end, I'll have to decide who they're going to be for. And then, so that's an active work in progress. I was working on that a little bit this morning. Then what else do we have? It's the bag of scraps that I've put aside to make Layla some socks. So I have a cuff. I can't even remember when I cast this on. But yeah, so I just have a cuff. This is out of some knit style yarn. This is the Squirtle colorway that I knit a pair of socks for my brother recently. So yeah, I need to get cracking on that. I just cast on a cuff and put it aside. So yeah, that's coming soon. I really want to get Layla's box of socks finished. So I'd say I've got another 2 or 3 pairs to knit for her for that. And my final work in progress, which I started last night, and I am super excited to finally get working on this, is the adult mix and match sweater. And the yarn is actually part of acquisitions as well, so I'll go over that in more detail later. But I literally just cast on last night and I've done the first few rounds of deep increasing. But as you can see, it's not joined in the round. So this version, the adult version, is going to have a cardigan option as well as a pullover option. So that's really fun. That's going to be the biggest difference between this version and the children's version. The neckline is going to be different. So the children's one is just like a round sort of crew neck, like, yeah, a round neck or like a crew neck version. And this is going to be a V-neck, either pullover or cardigan. And then you're going to have a choice between just a flat collar that just lays flat or a shawl collar for both the pullover and cardigan versions. And then obviously you can knit the sleeves as long as you want, and then the length of the body is up to you, and then there'll be a high-low hem option or just a straight hem option as well. So really, really fun. I'm really enjoying how this is working up. This is being knit out of, I'll show you up close, Into the World on their Pokoku DK base in the mildly amusing colorway Kettle Dyed. And I'll show you my swatch because you'll see the colours better on the swatch. This is the swatch I knit up. The colours are a little bit blown out on the camera right now, but it is a beautiful sort of mix of purples and greens. It's a little bit darker in real life. It's not quite as light. The lighter parts are being really blown out in the light right now. That's a bit better. But yeah, I really love how this colorway knits up and how it blocks. It's super soft and squishy. I really, really love it. And I'll talk more about the yarn, like I said, in acquisitions. So yeah, I just started that last night. I'm really, really hoping to get to the sleeve separation by Rhinebeck. That's kind of my goal at the moment, and then it's just straight down the body and then just sleeves, and then it should be pretty quick sailing after that. Really with this pattern, I'm not going to say the hardest part because it's not hard, but the bit that requires the most concentration is through the increases for the upper body. Once you're finished increasing, once you finish with the raglan increasing, the rest of it, super simple. the rest is going to be plain sailing. And of course there's going to be a stockinette version as well as the textured version for the pattern as well. So if you like the shape and the style of the cardigan but you don't want to do the texture, or if you're new to knitting garments and you don't want to do an all over texture pattern, you want just a simple stockinette version, there will be that as well in the same pattern. So you'll get 2 in 1, essentially 2 versions in one, as well as all the options. So yeah, that pretty much sums up all of the works in progress as well. So we actually got through that section pretty quickly. I feel like I'm on a bit of a time crunch because I know Perry and Layla will be back not too long, and I want to get through everything before they get back home. So I'm sorry if you feel like I rushed through that. I do kind of feel like I rushed through it a little bit, but I hope you understood everything, and I'll have all the details in the show notes as well, so you can find everything there. And if there's something that you can't find the information for in the show notes and I didn't mention it, or I mentioned it too quickly on the podcast or something, please let me know. I will be happy to answer your questions. I don't do project pages anymore on Ravelry. I used to. I tried. I think the last project I updated on Ravelry was like from June last year, and then after the summer, because we were in the UK for the summer last year, and I was in the early parts of my pregnancy, I was in my first trimester, and I just gave up. It got to a point when we got back from the summer and I just had so many projects I was behind on uploading to Ravelry. I decided I wasn't even going to bother anymore. It just isn't for me. I don't enjoy doing it. I don't enjoy the format of how you have to fill in everything, and it just doesn't feel very natural to me to do it that way. I do keep track of my projects on an Excel spreadsheet, and that suits me much better. And so I do keep track of everything. I just don't do it the way Ravelry asks you to do it. It's just not my thing. I don't enjoy doing it that way. So I'm sorry if that is something that you look for, but it's just not what I do. But I do try and include as much information as I can in terms of like needle size, yarn, colorways, etc. in my show notes. So if I forget to ever mention anything in the podcast, usually that information can be found in the show notes. And if there's something that I've forgotten to mention, then by all means do let me know. And if I've made any sort of like very drastic changes from a pattern, then I always mention that as well. But to be perfectly honest, most of the things that I knit these days are my own designs or vanilla socks. So in terms of, there's not a lot of information generally that I can share at the time. Anyway, all right, acquisition time. I have a box of stuff to share with you today. I think there's only really one thing in here that you'll have seen on the vlog last week. One or two things actually that you'll have seen on the vlog last week. Everything else came in this week. It was kind of like there was a few things I was expecting, but it's like everything just showed up at once. So we have a ton of things to go through. First off, I'll show you a couple of little things that are just here. I showed these on the vlog last week, but the lovely Lisa from the Griff House Etsy shop sent me some polymer clay progress keepers. So I showed these on the vlog in more detail. I'm not sure if I can get this to focus. I'm at a bit of an awkward distance away from the camera to be able to really do these properly. Oh, come on, focus already. There we go. So we've got a little pumpkin, a little ghost, a cupcake, and then a Halloween cupcake. So the Halloween stitch markers, that all of them other than this cupcake, are going to go as part of the Road to Rhinebeck Mystery Knit Along giveaway prizes. So there are 3 prizes and there are 3 markers here, 3 progress keepers here. So I'm going to just divide them up and put one with each prize. And the cupcake will be mine. And she also sent me some little rainbow themed or coloured ring markers that she made out of polymer clay as well. So those will be really fun to use. And also, rather as a surprise, I got in the mail yesterday was from the lovely Sam, who's the dyer behind Lavender Loon Yarn Company, and she sent me one of these amazing, beautiful enamel pins that she's had been custom made for her shop, which I think are really beautiful. You've got a little sun at the bottom, and then you've got the moon and stars at the top, and clouds in the middle. I just think that's really beautiful. And I think they were designed by shellycan.com, Celestial Skein. So that's really pretty. Thank you so much for sending me that, Sam, and congratulations on your pins. I have quite a few like buttons, like the badges, like the more traditional looking badges, not these sort of pin style badges. I have quite a few of those that are just like sitting in a drawer, and now I've got one of these. I do quite like them. I never really got into the whole enamel pin trend, as it were, but I do like them and I do think they're beautiful. So I think, you know, potentially might start collecting a few. I'll have to dedicate a project bag for them, but to put them all on. But for now, that's really lovely, and I have to find somewhere to put it. In terms of yarn, let's just start with the one you've already seen. So again, I showed this on the blog when it came in, but this is the yarn support sent to me kindly by the lovely Chris and James from Into the World. And so this is the rest of the skeins they sent me of the Mildly Amusing colourway. They sent me 8 skeins in total, so I've wound up 2 already to use for the start of the pattern. I'm alternating skeins, which is really important with hand-dyed yarn, especially yarn that's variegated like this. Like, you can already see, even though these were all dyed together, I mean, I can't really tell when looking at them in person that much. When looking at it on the camera, the top skein definitely looks like it's got more green and is slightly lighter than the bottom skein, which looks like it has more purple in it. So for reasons like this, you want to alternate skeins to avoid having like a really obvious line where you've changed skeins. So I mean, it might actually look, when they wind it up, it might not look like there's that much of a difference. But right now, when you look on camera, I mean, I can kind of see that this one is a bit darker than this one. But anyway, I don't mind. It doesn't bother me. Alternating skeins is not an issue. And if I can, there we go. Is that a label? And yeah, so I've got 6 more skeins of that. I'm just going to sort of wind the skeins as I go, as and when I need them. For now. And then when my parents-in-law came over, my mother-in-law had picked up some stuff for me at a shop near where they live. So this is from Claristo. It's a shop in Rye in East Sussex, which is where my in-laws live in East Sussex. But when I went online to look for the shop, they only have a wholesale online website, which is for candles. So they also apparently sell yarn in their store. So I'll link their Facebook page if you're interested in finding out more about it. So the yarn that she got me was 2 50-gram skeins or hanks balls of Donegal Irish tweed. It's an Aran weight, and it doesn't actually say how much is in each ball in terms of yardage, but it's 50 grams, and it's a nice sort of like tweedy purple, and almost looks like a single ply the way it's been spun, and it's a very rustic feeling. So these will have to be something like mittens, or yeah, this couldn't go next to skin. This is very, very rustic, very coarse and scratchy. So this will have to be, like I said, either mittens, or I could do a hat and line the brim with like a softer yarn. So yeah, there's that. That was a sweet little surprise. And then the rest that came in has all been yarn support for the sock club. So this amazingly beautiful skein of yarn came in from Brooke of Fully Spun. Sorry, I got fluff in my eye. And it's called the Blue Hole. It's a 3-ply fingering weight merino nylon. It's 85% merino, 15% nylon, I believe. Yes, it's 4 ounces, 425 yards, and look how beautiful that is. So it's like it's a 3-ply, and so it's got this like really subtle barber poling effect, which I absolutely love in hand spun. And the whole point of the way Fully Spun work the yarn is to give a hand spun effect, but from commercially produced yarn. So for those who aren't spinners, who like the barber pole effect of hand spun yarn, but don't spin themselves, this is one way in which you can commercially purchase some yarn to give you that hand spun effect. Well, that gives you that hand spun effect, but with more consistency. So this will be for one of the patterns coming up, and it's such a beautiful bright skein. I think this will be great for one of the patterns, but not too variegated or too crazy to show off. Geez, that's really been blown out. To really show off a pattern nicely. That's better. It's more accurate colours right here. So thank you so much to Brooke for that. That's really, really lovely. Then I also had some yarn come in from Denise, who's the lovely dyer behind Yoshi and Lucy Knits, and a personal friend of mine. and yeah, she kindly offered to dye up some yarn for the sock club. So the colorway that she sent me for the sock club is called Chocolate Cake, and it's so much fun. It's a really rich sort of chocolatey red. I think that's probably the best way to describe it. It's kind of like a red with overtones of brown, and there's like slightly pinker sections as well. I think this again would be really lovely in a pattern with like hints of this bits of black in there as well. It just looks really rich and sumptuous, and I absolutely love it. It's on her Stellina base, which is the Brilliant base. It's a 75/25 superwash merino nylon Stellina, 464 yards in 100 grams, which is lovely. And she also sent 2 extra skeins. This one is on her Inez base, which is 100% superwash merino in the Canyon colorway, which I absolutely love this colorway. It's so much fun. It's like a really heavily speckled colorway, which I love. And this is on her Maria base, which is 100% superwash merino singles, and this is in the Aloha Mora colorway. Always takes me a minute, which I believe is one of her Harry Potter inspired colorways. And so this one will be for a future giveaway. So thank you so much, Denise, for the lovely yarn. That is really kind of you. And finally, I got some yarn from the lovely Robin, who is Teeny Button Studios, also for the sock club. And I think this is the one I've decided I'm going to use for the sock club pattern. And it's on her Tough Sock base, which is 100% high twist fingering. Sorry, not 100%. It's a high twist fingering, 80% superwash BFL, and 20% nylon. And it's in the Sally's Pralines colorway. This is really lovely, highly speckled, neutral with speckles of like blues and purples and a bit of pink and gold and yellow. Just like lots of really fun colors in there. I've just pulled it up so you can see the, like that there. It's like, that's beautiful. Look at that. Anyway, so I'm really looking forward to working with that. She also sent a skein of her Audubon Park. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but this is on her soft sock base, 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon, 463 yards and 100 grams. The other one was 400 yards, I believe, in 100 grams. Yeah, 400 yards and 100 grams for the BFL. And this is really lovely bright green with like a slightly darker bit running through it. And some subtle speckles in there. This will be really fun. Look at that little bit of speckle in there. It's beautiful. So thank you, Robin, for the lovely yarn as well. I might use this one. I've decided this one I'm going to use for the designs, one of the designs, and this will either be for a giveaway or for something else. I haven't decided yet what that will be for. And yeah, so thank you so much to everyone for the yarn support and for the extras to use for giveaways and stuff. That's amazing. I really appreciate it. And yeah, I look forward to finally cracking on. I did actually spend a lot of time it's kind of going into a bit of weekly roundup stuff, but week review stuff, but I did have a few days this week, well 2 days so far this week, where I've just been able to get out of the house, sit down and focus on some design projects and design work, which is just, I really needed that. And this week has been great for me in terms of like mental health, I guess. I really needed a bit of a break from looking after Layla. As much as I love her, things were getting, September was really hard for me in terms of like feeling very burnt out, and not with knitting and stuff, but with looking after Layla. It was just getting very full on, especially because now she's starting to move. I just really needed some space. And then so last weekend Perry was primarily looking after Layla, even though I was still at home the whole time and helping out a bit, but he was primary caretaker for the weekend. And then Monday and Tuesday I just got out of the house for the whole day and sort of left at 8 AM, got back at like 4 or 5 PM. So it was really nice to just get away for a bit. And then Wednesday, Thursday, I was again looking after Layla on my own, and I felt like a completely different person than I did 2 weeks ago. So it was definitely what I needed, definitely was needed. And I'm also getting another day-ish today. I'll probably stay at home, but I'm still planning on doing some work stuff. And like I said, Perry's got the day off. His parents actually went to Philadelphia for the last couple of days, and they get back today around lunchtime. So that's why he's got today off to spend with them. They leave tomorrow morning, so he wanted to spend as much time with them as he could. So yeah, so he's also going to primarily be taking care of Layla today, so I can get a bit more work stuff done. And yeah, I just feel like I really managed to get really managed to get to a point where I'm comfortable with where I'm at with a lot of my design ideas, specifically for the sock club and the adult mix and match sweater. So yeah, that's quite a bit of blabbering right there, but I hope you understand what I was trying to say. It was a very much needed break from childcare for me, and being able to focus on getting some work done, which was nice. Okay, so moving on, we have a few knit-alongs and a giveaway going on at the moment. We have the Knitting Expat Designs year-long knit-along, which was going to run until the end of January of next year, but I think at the moment, with the way that our lives are panning out, we're probably going to be moving around the end of January. Between the end of January and end of February of next year, we're going to be leaving the US. So considering things are going to be quite hectic at the early part of next year, I am planning on just ending the knit-along at the end of December. And just, you know, so I'm going to end it a month early. I hope you guys don't mind. But that is currently running, and the next prize draw is going to be at the end of November. Then we have the Road to Rhinebeck mystery knit-along, which is for this shawl, and that will be running until the end of next Sunday. So the end of Sunday, which is the last day of Rhinebeck Sheep and Wool Festival. So once I get back from Rhinebeck, I will close the thread on Monday morning, and I will draw winners on the podcast that week. Then we also have the New York Sock Club knit-along, which is still running, and that's going to run until the end of November. I drew the prize winners for the end of September, which was the last month we had a pattern released, but I'm having the knit-along run for 2 more months, so as many people can finish knitting their socks as possible. And then I'll have one final prize draw at the end of November from the monthly thread, and then I'll also draw from everyone who's completed all the pairs of socks and submitted in the grand prize thread. I have 2 grand prize packages to give away as well, so I'll be drawing from that thread at the end of November. And then the giveaway that I'm running now is going to be for the We Are Knitters $50 gift card. I was donated 2 to give away. I've given 1 away so far, and I've got another one to give away. So that thread should be live now by the time this podcast has gone up, so you can run along and enter that there. And that will be open as well until the end of Rhinebeck weekend on the 22nd of October. So I will close that thread when I close the Road to Rhinebeck mystery knit-along as well. And the question for that is going to be, if you could go to Rhinebeck, and even if you are going to Rhinebeck, let's just go with it. If you could attend Rhinebeck, which We Are Knitters sweater pattern would you knit as your Rhinebeck sweater? If you had to choose from the patterns on their website, or their kits essentially. So that would be the prompt. I'll leave a link to their website so you can pop along and see what designs they have, and just let me know in the comments which one you would like. And then I will announce the winner on the podcast, and you will just have to send me your email address and I'll pass it on to them, and they will send you the gift card. It's an electronic gift card. I don't think we have any new questions in the thread that have not been answered in the Q&A thread, so I'm going to skip over that, and we will move on to the final segment, the week in review. And so yes, Layla is now 33 weeks old. She is going to be 8 months old at Rhinebeck, actually. Over Rhinebeck weekend, she's going to be 8 months old. So yeah, look, she's growing up so much. I can't believe how much she has changed in the last couple of weeks. Like, it's been crazy. She's not quite crawling she's not like hands and knees crawling, but she is getting around. She is scooting on that belly. I refer to it as the belly scoot now. She just kind of like army crawls around the place. She's definitely on the go. She hasn't quite figured out how to get from laying down to sitting up yet. She's still struggling with that, unless she's leaning against the pillow or something where she's got a little bit of, where she's already lifted up a little bit, then she can manage to get up. But if she's laying flat on the floor or something, she can't sit up yet, or go from like her belly being on her front to being able to sit up. She can't do that, but she's already trying to pull herself up. Like yesterday, I sat on the sofa with her, and I was checking something on my phone, and next thing I know, I turn around and look at her, and she's like pulling herself up on the back of the sofa. I'm like, what are you doing? Why? What are you doing to me? And then she also has started, basically when she's on the sofa with me sometimes, she'll sort of roll onto her front, and then she turns on the sofa so her legs are hanging off the edge, and then she started basically scooting back a bit scares herself when like she starts sliding. I mean, I hold on to her so she doesn't fall and hurt herself, but as she slides back into like a standing position, has a bit of a moment, and then turns and like takes a step towards the ottoman. She's not really walking, but I'm holding on to her so she doesn't fall. And then she kind of like puts her foot out and then reaches for the ottoman that's right next to the sofa, and then wants to stand at the ottoman. Like, she just loves standing at this like footstool ottoman thing and like staring at everything and playing with stuff. So she's doing that. I've posted videos of both of those things to our family Instagram page. She's gonna be walking by Christmas. I know it. I know she will. Perry started walking at 9 months. I started walking at 11 months. She's gonna be 10 months at Christmas. It's gonna happen. I know it is. I'm not looking forward to it because, sorry for street noise, I got the windows open because the weather's so good. But yeah, I'm not looking forward to it, but it is what it is, and I guess I'm just gonna have to live with it. I would have been just as happy if she had decided not to crawl or not to walk until she was over a year old. But she just doesn't have any patience for that, for waiting. So in that respect, she's a lot like me, and I'm not surprised at the way she's going. But yeah, it will be interesting dealing with a walking or practically walking baby around Christmas time. So, she popped her third tooth a couple of days ago. I noticed that she had a third tooth poking through, and it's one of her top teeth, and the fourth one is on its way. So she's going through some teething stuff at the moment. Been a little bit grumpy, but she's all in all actually doing pretty well at the moment. Like I said, it's been really nice having Perry's parents around. They've been enjoying going out, seeing stuff, and Perry's been going with them with Layla, so I've been having, like I said, some downtime. Yeah, we're also planning on going away for a week around Thanksgiving. So towards the end of November, we've sort of booked out a week and stuff, so we're not entirely sure where we're going to go yet. We haven't decided. We're kind of waiting to see if we're going to find, if we know before then where we're moving, because then that might help us decide where to go on holiday. I don't know. We haven't fully decided anything yet. We haven't even booked our flights for Christmas yet, although we will be doing that over the weekend, I think, but finally booking our flights for Christmas. Going back to the UK, I mean, so that'll be good. I don't know, Perry and I have always been such future planners, like in terms of like planning trips in advance and knowing what we're doing when we're doing it. But for the last year or so, things have been really difficult to pinpoint because we didn't know where we were going to be living or what was happening and stuff. So I've just gotten very used to things being a bit last minute, and I don't like it. I don't like things being last minute. I'm very much, I want to know what's happening and when it's happening. So I'm trying to be really sort of like laid back and zen and trying not to freak out about the fact that I don't know where we're going to be living next year. So, you know, you just got to do what you can about the things you can control. You know, finding a job is something I can't do for Perry. He has to do it himself. As much as I'd like to help him, I can only do what I can do. And yeah, job hunting and doing interviews is not something I can do for him. So there's that. And not that he's not doing anything, he is. He's working really hard at trying to find something. It's just, you know, some of it's out of his control as well, and some people are a bit slow at responding, and which is very frustrating when you've got, you know, on a bit of a time crunch yourself. Anyway, I think I've rambled on enough now. Thank you so much for joining me again this week. I hope this was a more reasonably length podcast episode than it has been recently. I don't understand it. Sometimes I go through a week and I'm vlogging and I feel like I haven't filmed anything, and then I get to the end of it and I'm sitting down to edit and it's like I have 4 hours worth of footage. I'm like, where did this happen? Where did this come from? And I always end up managing to cut it down to like an hour and a half-ish. I mean, to be honest, for a week of vlogging or anything like that, an hour and a half is the absolute max. I don't want to make it any longer than that. And I think this next week, I'm actually going to split it into 2 vlogs. So there's going to be a vlog from, probably from tomorrow, sometime this weekend, until Thursday. And then I will do a separate vlog for Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So it's going to be like a Rhinebeck vlog, and then a week up to Rhinebeck vlog. So yeah, I hope that suits you guys. Hopefully that way they will be more reasonable length. I'm hoping to keep them both under an hour. And yes, there's that. What else? I think that's all that I have in terms of news and stuff. I've given all the information I can think of. And yeah, so I look forward to seeing you guys soon. It's just happened to work out this way that Rhinebeck falls on one of my regular vlogging weeks, so so that's worked out. And then the week after, the week following Rhinebeck, that following Friday, will be a regular podcast episode. So what I'm planning on doing, because I'm going to be doing a Rhinebeck vlog, I think once we get back from Rhinebeck, I'll do like a haul section and stick that on to the end of the vlog. And then the actual episode, I won't be talking too much about Rhinebeck or the stuff I got at Rhinebeck. That way, if you're not interested, or if you weren't able to go and for whatever reason you don't want to hear about it, because I know loads of podcasters are going, so there's going to be a lot of like post Rhinebeck recaps and stuff like that. That way, if you're not interested in hearing about it and stuff, then you don't have to. You can skip over that vlog, and if you are interested and you want to watch it, then of course by all means go ahead and watch the vlog. I think that way it kind of separates it from a regular podcast, and that way if you're interested you watch, and if not then you don't have to. Alright, so take care, have a lovely week, and I will see you guys soon. Bye.
Yeah. Yeah.